Welcome to Deep Cuts Live. I'm your host, Antoine Reid, and we are here with two guests, which is kind of fun. Always, it's nice to have a group of people. But today we have two guests from Aurora. So we have Willy Marante and John Ferrigan. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for having us today.
Yeah, you're actually
a little cold, but I'm good. We're good. We're ready to go.
Yeah, you're actually helping us to close out 2023. I think this might probably be like the grand finale of all of our season 4 shows. So no pressure on you guys.
Got to save the best for last. We love it.
Exactly. Yeah. So like I said, thank you for coming on. I know I encountered you all in DC or Arlington or whatever, if you want to be technical, for the PCA fundraiser this year. And luckily, you kind of brought to mind that you had not been on Deep Cuts yet. And I'm always excited when people ask to be on these Deep Cuts. So it means you're ready for all the hard-hitting questions.
Yes. That was a great time out at the PCA fundraiser. Great meeting you out there. And, it's always a good opportunity for us, especially relaunching the brand in the U.S., to be a part of shows like this.
Yeah. So usually with Deep Cuts, we don't get right into the business right away. We start off with kind of a fun icebreaker. So as I was kind of thinking of the icebreaker for this episode, I kind of thought, I know, because I work in magazine world, so I'm always thinking about like magazine issues. But for this episode, my question for you two is, what is your hype song? So what song, gets you hype?
Go ahead, Willie. I got to think about this.
Meek Mill's Dreams and Nightmares.
This is a tough one. I think if I go back to, my younger days, it's always Petey Pablo, North Carolina. That song always amps me up for some reason.
The song is called Raise Up.
Raise Up. I'm dating myself. I don't even remember what it's called. I just love the song.
I'm from North Carolina, so we that was like the anthem at every school function for a couple of years, a good decade or so. So
what year did you graduate?
From high school?
Yeah.
2002.
I'm an 06 guy. So yeah, it was that kind of window of that song hit it. And also, I guess, being in the Midwest, Nelly, anything Nelly, Hot and Her, is always a good one for us.
I like how you throw the her. Like.
Her. It's how it's spelled, Willie.
Okay.
Well, that's awesome. So I'm always interested in hype songs. I've been organizing my vinyl collection for like the last, I feel like a couple months now. So I'm really deep into the music thing right now. But
for those that don't know what vinyl is, those are those big round things before CDs.
I know.
Just in case people are watching.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how expensive vinyl has gotten. It's not out of ordinary to find like a $50, vinyl. It's a whole different.
Because now they're collector pieces. They're no longer just what they used to be. Now it's collector pieces.
Yeah. Now they have variants. So they have different color variants and stuff like that. I'm sure the cigar world will pick up on this somehow. Somebody will figure this out.
Don't give them any ideas.
Variants of cigars, which we already kind of do, but they'll make it special in some way. So now that we've done the icebreaker, we know what songs get you all hype. I want to get hype about cigars. So I always like to know the origin story of different people who have come into the industry. So John and Willie, can you share how you found yourself getting involved in the premium cigar industry?
Let's see. My previous background before the cigar industry, I worked as a DJ and stuff like that. So I used to have a Saturday night gig at a cigar bar. So I would always have a cigar during my set and stuff like that. And that transitioned into me getting a job at a store and then transitioning into the premium side and stuff like that.
When I was in college, I was looking for a part-time job, and Outlaw Cigar had just opened their new location in Overland Park, Kansas. So I joined the retail team there. After a month or so, I was appointed one of the managers, and so from there, I just was entrenched into the cigar industry. Worked retail for a few years, then went to Rocky Patel, from Rocky to General. Took a 3-year step back, went to the liquor industry, and now with La Aurora.
Awesome. Now, with I know people because I was thinking about La Aurora, and when I think of La Aurora, I automatically think of the factory. Which, if people have not been to the factory, is like, correct me if I'm wrong. It's the oldest factory in the Dominican Republic. The
So we
oldest.
are the oldest Dominican factory making cigars since 1903, celebrating 120 years this year. So hence why the new 120 cigar and everything that we'll get into. But yes, we're celebrating 120 years this year.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about La Aurora, because I'm sure you all, being the salespeople that you are, you have this story down pat. So for our viewers who may not be familiar with La Aurora, give us the spiel that you give all of the retail clients.
It's not a spiel. I mean, we live it every day. You see it. You yourself. You've been to the booth. You've seen Guillermo. I mean, it's a family run, family operated business. It's in its fifth leg of family owned, its fifth generation. Everything begins and starts with family. Yes, they've been making cigars for 120 years. You know, that's great. But I mean, we are a family, from the team in the DR to the team out here in the USA. It's everything we do. And John will get more into details with the team and stuff like that. But 120 years of excellence and dedication and passion, and it shows in everything they do, and especially in this new 120 cigar that's in the market right now, from the regular edition to the LE that we've been putting out. Like, it's been an amazing run this year, being able to start this new chapter for them. Although they've been in the market for about 26 years through Miami Cigar and its old distribution, you know, we just launched something that they've never had, which is their U.S. division. So for the first time, everything is in-house, and it's a new exciting chapter for the family and for the factory.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Willie was saying, it's a family run business, and it's one of those companies in this industry that the story's authentic. So for us sales guys, going out there and talking about Guillermo and Eduardo and Fernando and talking about the legacy of the Leon family, it's easy to us. We love it. It excites us. It excites the consumers out in the market. So, you know, being able to go out and believe in what you're selling is key to us.
Now, within the last year or so, I know that you all have launched like the U.S. division of La Aurora. So what led to that decision to establish basically a U.S. leg of this company?
I think it's twofold. I think Guillermo and Nestor, being the great friends they are, realize that, you know, concentration on one is better for a whole. So, you know, if Nestor focuses on Don Lino, Nestor, Miranda, Tatiana, Guillermo focuses on La Aurora, they're going to each grow and grow to the scale they want to. I think, you know, in looking at La Aurora, it's a brand that has to be told. It's a story. And, you know, unfortunately, during COVID, Miami having to do the things they did to continue on and trim down their sales team, they weren't able to get out into the streets, get out into the field and talk and host events and really highlight the story and the cigars that we're producing. So I think post COVID, when things settled, they had a mutual agreement that, you know, this is the right path moving forward. The friendship is stronger now than ever. At the trade show, you know, we were in their booth, they were in our booth, and it's still family. So they helped us from day one getting this up and running, and their team still continues to help us. So I just think it's prioritizing what we have to continue success.
And you just mentioned the importance of the story several times. And that's something that we talk about on Deep Cuts, because when you see in the cigar industry, so many times, like, the press releases don't really tell the story behind a cigar. It tells you like the wrapper, binder, filler, and then the price point, and then that's it. And that's not really compelling to, I think, a lot of people. So have you found, like, you know, with La Aurora having such a rich story, that helps in the sales process and the marketing process, that you have something to really talk about rather than just wrapper, binder, filler?
I mean, we
I
have a
think what
lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. Like even you were at the show, so our booth itself was as an homage to the family, the rich history of the family and the factory. Like on one side, we had the pioneers with the family motto that it's not just a business; it's a passion. You were in the conference room. You had the creed that the Leons have had for the last 100+ years, and then the back wall had the timeline of every important date from 1903 going into 2023 and the launch of Lhasa USA. So it's like it's everything, and it's in everything they do. Like if you speak to Manuel, it's all passion, it's all history.
I think the big thing with us is, when you look at product, you look at quality construction, all of us are sourcing tobacco from similar regions. We have the advantage of we have our own fields. We have infrastructure in the Dominican Republic. So all our Dominican tobacco, that's what we highlight. When you think La Aurora, you think Dominican. So we're Dominican first. And then we buy tobaccos from all over the world. It's hard because in this industry, I spent time in the wine industry and they always talk about AVAs and designations. In the cigar industry, we don't really have that. They talk about, just generalized areas. I think for us, we always highlight the Cibao region in Dominican Republic. And so for us, it's highlighting the story of that tobacco, the quality, the care, and the construction coming from that tobacco. And then how we're using the nuances of, something from Nicaragua or, Peruvian, the highlights to the Dominican is what our story is.
That's reminds me of things I've been thinking about recently with the cigars, because with cigars, I think I have an issue sometimes with how people sometimes describe the cigars, like you just talked about the nuances and notes and stuff like that. And I saw somebody comment on this on Facebook recently, because I think with the wine industry, kind of led to this whole how we talk about cigars too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're similar, but they're not similar at the same time. So it's confusing to some people, because I know when you're really new to the cigar world and you read a cigar review and it says like, this cigar has notes of, strawberry or whatever, and you're thinking like, wow, they're like, or like dark chocolate and stuff like that. And you're thinking like, gosh, this is going to be like, almost like Willy Wonka style, like the everlasting gobstopper of the cigar. And you're like, it has like all these different notes, and like people just go crazy trying to identify all these notes. And then you smoke the cigar and it's like, tobacco, I think, has like a very distinct taste. And I think that's what, obviously should appeal to people. It's like a cigar doesn't have sometimes all these flavor notes. And yet we try to, it's become part of the marketing hype to pick out these notes. So
I think the biggest thing is when you're, doing the correlation wine to cigars, it's important to explain, a lot of our cigars, they may have those subtle notes to them, but it's more like an old world wine. They're very soft, they're delicate, they're there, and it takes a trained palate to pick it up. But until you get to that level of discerning the true flavors in the cigar, it's just going to be a cigar to you.
And you also mentioned there's other qualities to a cigar that I know La Aurora really pays attention to, which is like quality and construction and all these things. And we kind of sometimes don't focus on that as much in the cigar industry. Like I said, it's all about the notes sometimes, like what flavor notes do you pick up on? We don't even talk about aroma a lot anymore. So, with La Aurora, I mean, whenever I had a La Aurora cigar, I take note of like the construction, like, is this a cigar I have to light 10,000 times during the smoking process? What's the burn line like? Is it unraveling? All these little teeny tiny things that people may think is like minute and boring. But, La Aurora seems to really focus on those quality issues in terms of all of the products that it produces, whether it's La Aurora products or products for somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's a fun thing about La Aurora. And that's, when I first came on board, not often do you look at a cigar and you're like, wow, that's a beautiful cigar. Like, I think if you pick up any one of our cigars, you look at it and from the eye, it's a very appealing cigar. And so even from, sight to feel to taste, it's using all our deceptors to really look at this cigar and say, La Aurora takes pride in what they're doing. It's not just a cigar to our group. It's, something more. It's an experience. And so I think that's the huge thing I saw when coming over to La Aurora was the pride and the time and the care they take into each cigar that's coming out of that factory.
Do each of you remember the first La Aurora cigar that you ever smoked?
Yes. It
I think mine
was
was a 107.
mine was a 100 onions.
Good first one.
When people first encounter La Aurora and they haven't really smoked any La Aurora products, and let's just say that they're new to cigars, they like mild cigars, they aren't into like heavy cigars, like where do you kind of lead them in terms of like different products to try within the La Aurora portfolio?
I guess it all depends what they smoke. Like when you're working in humidor, let's say, and the guy comes up to me, oh, I love Romeo and Juliet, I love stuff like that. So if you like Romeo and Juliet, then I could throw you towards original blend 1987 Connecticut. If you're more of a Monty White kind of guy and a little more higher end Connecticut, then we can take you to the Preferidos. We can do a Sapphire, or we can even do like a Platinum Cameroon and stuff like that. The guy says like, oh, I love my hardcore Liga Privada Double Aero. All right, we got you. Our new 120 is bold and pepper front forward. We have our broadleaf and our Maduros that we can go to. Obviously, our Ruby is Brazilian Maduro, so it's Arapiraca. So you're gonna get that strong flavor right out the gate from the wrapper. So we have different things, for everybody.
So with La Aurora, and this is one of those questions I'm trying to think of how to word it. People know the La Aurora name, but for some reason you don't find La Aurora in every single retailer, which is crazy to me because you would think that it will be everywhere. So what pain point do you find like retailers are giving you as to why they don't have La Aurora in stock yet?
I think first and foremost is, the loss of active sales reps going into the store. This is a category where it's very much in front of your customer. And if you're not, it's really hard to get your product in there. We work in a category where we're all producing a very similar product. There's different aging and fermenting styles, but at the end of the day, it's all tobacco from a select few regions in the world. And so for us, the hurdle is, what do we know about La Aurora? The story hasn't been told in a while. So for us, it's going in and it's repetitiveness, dropping off samples, them seeing the quality of the price and the cigar. It's incredible. So for us, it's, we have the product, we have the price points. So it's just getting them to say yes. But that takes going into their stores multiple times, shaking hands, getting to know their customers, and telling them why it's an advantage to carry La Aurora versus not.
So we all know that this is a relationship-driven business,
Mm-hmm.
and that, like you were saying, it's very hard to sell from a PDF
Mm-hmm.
or a brochure sent through the mail. I still hear a lot of retailers say that they want someone to come into the store to talk to interact with. There's some retailers, believe it or not, that are not, they say they don't have emails. I don't believe that, but they don't want to do the email thing. They don't want, they don't want to do the Zoom sales thing that we were having to do during the pandemic. They want like physical people to come into the store. So with knowing that, you all are, I see both of you on the road all the time, like, especially Willy. I see you. It's like every day it's like a new place. Like you seem to be everywhere. So I can't imagine how many airline miles you have racked up at this point. But
the joke my friends have is, instead of where in the world is Carmen Sandiego's, where is Willy today?
Exactly. But
that's what I love. That's what I love and appreciate about our industry, that we're still old school. Like, a gentleman handshake is a gentleman handshake. You can drop off samples, but you still have to leave that business card with the sample. You can send an email, but you still got to walk in. You got to shake hands. You got to look them in the eye, and you got to have that spiel, and still give them. Like I said, you got to give them the business. You got to walk in. So we're still old school when it comes to things like that, especially in certain markets. Like, yeah, Miami, New York, California, Chicago, Texas. Some people are up to date, like you said, with emails. But some of these other markets, like there's Storm VA, that they're still old school. You live in North Carolina. Some of the heavy hitters there, they're still old school. You got to walk in and shake their hands and sit down with them. They won't give in to the new world of emails and send me your contact information. Like, nah, I got to see your face. I want to shake your hand. I want to know the person I'm doing business with,
Yeah, it's just funny to me that knowing that like more companies aren't investing more into the sales reps and having a physical person go into the store. It seems like we're getting ready to be in 2024 now. So it seems like more people would know like that's a super important thing to have. Like it may be a huge investment, but it pays off to have some physical person in the area go into the store and travel that area and just go, several times within, even a season just to see those people. But we don't see that a lot with companies. So why do you think that is?
It costs a lot to be on the road. I mean, to house in-house sales reps, it's a big financial burden to a lot of companies. We're thankful to where we have the great backing of the Leone family and the La Aurora family to where we can start hiring the right people and hitting the right markets. Willie and I right now, we're combined covering probably 30 states. And so it's one of those where as we grow and we hit those milestones, we'll bring on more people. But to start, it takes a lot to get people just out there in front of doors and doing those things. So I think for our industry, you're seeing a lot of companies do more of the ambassador-driven model and or brokers or using distributors to really activate some of those key markets that we may not be able to get to year one or year two.
So with that being said, what is the life of like a sales rep? Because I feel like we don't talk about sales reps hardly at all. Like we just see like the travel bit and that's it. So what is the life of a sales rep? Like what is that? Because I think some people see it, and even people who think that they love to travel probably they're not really ready for what that whole experience is like.
It takes a very unique person to do what we do. I think Willie and I are, the epitome of guys that are just beaten and bruised by the road, but we love it. We live out of suitcases, we live out of hotel rooms, and we're in a different city every day. So the life of a sales rep, the interesting thing about our category is a lot of your customers aren't open till 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So you're still getting up at 7 a.m., hitting emails, doing the work that's necessary to plot your day, to plot your month. And you're doing that till 11 o'clock, and then you hit your first store. I traveled with Willie in Virginia, and it reminded me of when I was young. I'm no longer young, and Willie somehow still does it, hitting 8 to 9 stores a day, and you don't stop. You might stop for a 10-minute lunch, but that's about it. And so people see the fun parts of it, the events, the podcast, Willie's food pictures of wherever he's at in the world, but they don't see what goes into it. The windshield time, the chaos of airports these days, the constant changing of hotel rooms. It's a lot, and you're away from home. You're away from family, 75, 80% of the time.
And he's being modest, but obviously he's living one of the biggest things right now where he just, he's at a hotel room, but today is his son's first year birthday and he's not with him. So, not only the work logistics part, but having to balance family and all your private life, you're not there for certain key moments and, you're still providing, but it has to be hard. And he's being humble today, but it's his baby boy's first 1 year birthday and he's at a hotel doing what he has to do. So that's everything right there.
Mm. It takes a lot of dedication to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it takes a lot of, I would say, understanding probably on the part of your family to understand why you aren't, why you're doing what you're doing and why you aren't there.
I would say if you want to be a cigar rep, if you want to be a person in the cigar industry, your support group has to be locked down. It has to be solid. You know, I took 3 years off of the industry, and my wife was actually the one that gave me the nudge to get back in. I know every day I'm gone, she's cheering me on. So having that support at home provides for a better life when you're gone.
So you mentioned this earlier, and you could kind of see it on John's shirt, but the anniversary, the 120. So talk about that a little bit, because that's a pretty big number, 120 in any industry, but especially in the cigar industry. I don't think a lot of companies can boast, that they've been around that long.
I only know two other families, I believe, the Newmans and the Toppers up in the Connecticut area, that are in the triple digit plus years like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know the Newmans are about 120 plus, and the Toppers are like another 100 plus. So, I mean, it's a milestone. It's everything we've been doing this year goes around that specific cigar. And that cigar is not just homage to the company, but to every factory employee that has ever worked for them. So many different people touch that cigar. So it's 120 years of excellence, knowledge, love that goes into that specific blend this year, and it's something special.
Yeah, when you describe that cigar, like, how do you describe it to people? For people who have not yet smoked it.
Well, to paying homage to the Dominican, it's obviously number one, it's 100% Dominican Puro. So it's all 100% Dominican tobacco. You have a Havana 92 wrapper, you have a Dominican Allure binder, and then you have a filler that consists of Piloto Cubano, Corojo from the Cibao Valley, and Dominican Allure. So it's 100% Dominican to pay homage to the 120 years of the oldest Dominican factory making cigars.
And how is that cigar performing so far? Like, I know that you kind of debuted it a little bit at PCA this year, the trade show, and I've seen that it's kind of getting out there in the wild.
I'll let John talk to you about that. He enjoys all those reports.
So initial run, we blew out the forecast. So we had to ramp up production. We had to allocate the first round of shipments just to ensure that everyone got a parcel of their original order. We are now back up to 100% production on the product. Initial reviews are incredible. We will hopefully be seeing some ratings in the coming weeks. But all the feedback right now is it's one of the, if not the best cigar La Aurora's ever produced. It's unique. It's a cigar that's full-bodied in flavor, but not full-bodied in strength. I have people that smoke a mild medium or a medium full, and they fall in love with this cigar. It's a cigar that you'll wake up tomorrow and the scent, the smell, the taste, you're longing for that again. So we're seeing a lot of repeat customers. We're seeing repeat orders, and it's done a lot better than we thought it would.
Yeah, I found it to be a very easygoing cigar. Like, it's not one that overpowers your palate, and it's not one that blows out your palate. Like, I think there are some cigars out there that sometimes you smoke it and you wake up the next morning and you can still taste it on your palate, which is not ideal, but I felt this one was a good cigar. Like, you could easily, enjoy the notes in the cigar, enjoy the aroma, enjoy the burn line and all the construction and stuff, and not be distracted. It was like you kind of light it up and it goes. And I thought that was, the best compliment that I can give of the cigar.
It's high praise. Yeah. Go ahead, Willie.
No, I was about to say, and what he was saying, one of the biggest feedbacks we get is that it's a cigar that stands out within the portfolio of La Aurora. It's also when people say, "Oh, what cigar deviates La Aurora?" I was like, "Well, have you had that new 120?" And people smoke it, like you said, like, "Oh, this is different for you guys." Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, and I think it's important to also, like, you can't talk about La Aurora without talking about your master blender, because I know that he plays a big role in everything that comes out of that factory. So talk a little bit about your master blender, give his story, give his moment of spotlight, because we have not yet had him on Deep Cuts. So I think people
we're gonna have him, and we're gonna have subtitles, and he's not gonna drink rum. And we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it, and we're gonna have him on next year. But Manuel is passionate. I mean, if you ever get to sit down and live through one of his blending seminar events, and I'm blessed that I have gotten to do a lot of them in the last 2 months to end of the year. It's just passionate. Like you said, he wants to hit everybody from your front palace to your side through retro. You know, he wants to hit you with education. And Manuel's big on educating, just not just La Aurora, but just on what tobacco and what notes. Like you say, you know, you smoke the cigar and you enjoy all these different aspects. And for him is everything. You know, when he's doing an event, the combustion, the wrapper, the flavor, what front notes are you getting in the first third? What notes are you getting in the second third? Are you drinking rum? Are you drinking coffee? Then you should be experiencing this and that. So he is a walking educating machine, having 40 plus years in this industry now, you know.
And talk a little bit about Guillermo Leon, because I know that he's a force to be reckoned with. I would say, personally, my encounter with him, I remember going to Pro Cigar one year, and you know, I was supposed to interview him, and by the time I got, you know, he had lots of business calls to take, and so I waited, and then when I finally got into his office, he ended up interviewing me. Like, he was just like, just leave the questions here and I'll answer them like later, but I have questions for you. And I was like, questions for me? And then, so I know that he can be a little bit imposing, but he's like a good guy to kind of talk to. And obviously a great, you know, when it comes to business, he's kind of like one of the best in the industry to kind of, you know, kind of learn from. So tell people a little bit more about him, because I don't know if people have had that pleasure of really talking to him or having that encounter like I did.
I think first and foremost, like you said, Guillermo is a force. He is a machine of a man. The thing I've noticed most about him is he's family first. He cares about not only his family, but all his employees and everyone that's around him. So the man is, I don't want to say this because he might get mad, but he's a gentle giant. He's a man on a mission. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is, you know, he's got a million things going on in his head, but when you're sitting in front of him, you're the most important person that's in the room. So I would say he's got vision. He has excellent abilities to surround himself with the people that will win and will succeed with his vision that he puts in place. And yeah, he's the Godfather. He's amazing.
I know when I spoke to him, or when he interviewed me, it was like, he was like, you know, tell me, what do people in America, you know, in the U.S. look for in a cigar? And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's like such a broad question. I was like, I don't know. It was like, we had this whole conversation, and like I said, and it was just like, he's like, I have 15 minutes, and then he just like asked these questions, like bam, 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 and it was like, okay, and then you know, we were done, and then it was like, oh, okay, so it was definitely a memorable, you know, one of my memorable interview experiences was definitely sitting in his office, having that conversation with him. And speaking,
but I think that's a huge takeaway. He's always wanting to learn. You know,
yeah,
whatever he knows, he doesn't know enough, and he wants to learn and figure out what to do next. So he's always looking for those opportunities to improve what he's already, you know, built and continued to build on.
yeah, you know, it's like, I forget who said this quote, but you know, it's like, I know what I don't know, and so you ask questions about what you don't know. Like you said, don't assume that you know everything. I think that's very important. That's probably why you all can say that you know, La Aurora has been around for 120 20 years, because you know, if you just kind of stuck to what was working in that first or second year, or year 10 or year 50, you know, I don't know if that would work. Like, you kind of have to change with the time. So it makes perfect
Well, I think
sense.
that's what's great. That's what's great about our industry, is that we're always evolving. We're always learning. Like, you never not learn a day in this industry, because even if you're out on the road, you have a conversation with somebody and you probably get a new perspective on something. You're like, man, why did I never think of that? Or I didn't know that. Like, it's just like you're always learning something.
And you know, speaking of learning, for those people who have not been to your factory, it's like you walk in and it's like a factory, but I know that they have lots of educational areas where you can like really learn and see. And it's almost like, I know, you know, people say it's like Disney World. I know Willie's gonna like not like that reference, but it's really like
guys got to move on from the Disney thing. I haven't had an annual pass in 3 years. Come on, cigar industry. I don't have an annual pass anymore. We're moving on.
the Disney, but it's like it's really like it's an experience, and you see all the different moving parts of it. And I once had someone, surprisingly enough, someone who works in the cigar industry, I was going to some cigar festival somewhere, and they were like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, it's you go to cigar factories, and they're like, well, why do you need to go to a cigar factory? You've been to a cigar factory. And I was like, no cigar factory is the same. So for me, like La Aurora especially is like nothing else out there. Like it's just so many different moving parts. So like, what was something that you all kind of took away from like your first visit to the factory?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, cause
okay. I would say, like you were saying, I never realized how education could be incorporated into the cigar industry the way they do it, the way we do it down there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to several factories, and a lot of it's, go in, you roll cigars, you do this, that, and the other, but you never get the in-depth knowledge. So not only with our factory, but also with the Leon Museum, just seeing what the family has done, what they've accomplished, what they've built, and then going in and having Manuel sit there and educate, and not only Manuel, but everyone that works there. You can talk to any person in the entire factory, and language barrier or not, they would be more than happy to sit down and educate you on what tobacco is, what a cigar is, how they blend. It's amazing to see it. So I think what you'll see from us moving forward is a big push on education and utilizing those resources we have in the Dominican and bringing them stateside.
And I think education is slowly becoming more important, or I think it's always been important, but I think it's slowly maybe having this moment in the spotlight in the industry. Like more people are realizing like, we need to be teaching people about the tobacco. We need to be teaching people about how to get into this industry, because I used to work for a pipe magazine, and the biggest problem with the pipe magazine was that there wasn't a lot of education. It was like they kind of plop people into like the middle of it, like as if you were like advanced. So people who are curious about pipes never learned about what you need to do to get into the industry. So the magazine slowly, lost prominence because all of its subscribers were dying. And when they were dying, they didn't have anyone to replace them with. So I think about that with the cigar industry, because there's some people who, when you look at kind of the education that takes place on social media, for example, and people are like, well, why do we need another influencer or another person, showing you how to cut a cigar or light a cigar? That's boring. Like people know that. And it's like, there's a lot of people who don't, like,
correct,
especially on certain platforms. Like I think Instagram probably has like the best cigar community on it in terms of social media, and then Facebook, of course. But like if you go to a newer platform like TikTok, those people don't know hardly anything about cigars. Like they think cigars work and operate the same way as the cannabis and hemp and CBD industry. Like they think it's all the same thing, and it's not. So I think there is room for a lot more education. So,
well, and what we're seeing is the younger generation, they're eager for it. They're eager for knowledge. They're willing to ask the questions, which, for a long time, you go and you do a cut and light or you do a tasting at a shop, no one will ask questions. But now we're seeing a resurgence of people are like, feed us the knowledge. Tell us what's going on in the industry, what's going on with the cigars. And they want to be in the know, which is a lot of fun. So I think that's the nice thing for me is I haven't done a cigar event in 3 years, and coming back to it, actually having that consumer engagement, people asking me, tough questions. It's one of those things where I didn't have that before, and 3 years removed, I come to a whole new consumer base.
What's the toughest question you've been asked so far?
The questions I can't answer.
Well,
I would say a lot of it's, unfortunately we have to keep some trade secrets, there's stuff we don't even know. Like, how do you infuse a cigar? I'm guessing you put it in a room and smoke some flavored stuff and it gets in the tobacco. There's just some things in this industry that even us on the road don't understand what's going on completely, and that's to protect the process. So
Right.
I would think a lot of times what I get questions on is like, how long was this tobacco aged? How was it dry cured? Is it barn cured or hanging it? The various in-depth questions that you get from people that just sit there and read constantly. So there's a lot of things that we still don't know. I know the trigger points. I know what to sell and what the hot words are, but a lot of it on the back end, I still don't. I'm unaware with La Aurora, so I don't know how we age all our tobacco. That's stuff that Willie might have a better idea because he's been with the company a lot longer. But each company is different, so it's hard to go in with confidence and answer those.
So Willie, what's
I know. No, I mean, we do a lot of the same basic process. I know that when it comes to us, we're big on barrel aging our tobacco compared to a lot of other companies. Obviously, we do have our own rum and stuff like that. So a lot of our cigars are barrel aged, which give off some great molasses, oaks, and some of those flavors as you get into those kind of things. But it's like John said, I don't know all the secrets. We have the ADN that has Andullo, and I've never been allowed into the room that decompresses the Andullo log and makes the long filler. Like, there's just trade secrets. Like I tell people, there's a magic room where that log goes in and then it comes out, ready to
It's
go.
beautiful.
It's beautiful and it smells amazing because you were at the trade show when we released it and you smelled that log, and it's just it's an amazing work of art, when it comes to Andullo. But I don't have all the answers. I know what the book says we need to say, and we know that.
But I think that's what makes it unique, like that you all don't know everything. Like for like the infused thing, I'm sure like I know other companies in the cigar industry, like the infused thing is probably more their thing. And I know that, like as you said, like if you ask them what was the process, they would tell you it's proprietary. So I can think questions like that maybe people are getting confused by.
I mean, you pass by there. If you've done the tour, you pass by the room that does the infusion in the factory, but you're not going in it.
No. No.
there's only a handful of people that are allowed in, and they have that clearance. But on the tour, when I have my customers, what's that?
We do not
That's
have
the
that
infusion.
clearance.
That's the infusion room, but you're not going in there. You're going this way to the galera.
It's like Willy Wonka when they were going through the chocolate factory, and it was like, "Don't go into that room. Don't do it." And then they do it.
I'm seeing a trend of Willy Wonka and my name on this show. I see where we're going. I see where we're going.
Do you have chocolates with your coffee, or is that beer?
I'm not answering. This is nitro.
And you were a minute ago, you were talking about the rum, and I know that when I was there for Pro Cigar, like the last big event that happened when we were at the factory was there was a rum blending pairing seminar that had like Guillermo was there and Carl Malone was on the stage and Manuel was there giving like a spill about the cigar that they were promoting that year. So you all have a lot of, like I said, things going on, and I know like it was fun to watch Carl Malone and Guillermo kind of have like, it was like a talk show to me because they both were on stage and they were just trading stories. And I remember Carl Malone told the story about how he used to like to use a punch for his cigars. Like he was a fan of the punch, and Guillermo saw him use a punch and he was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "I'm punching the cigar." He's like, No. He's like, "Never punch the cigar." He's like, "You got to do a straight cut." He's like, "You get more flavor that way." And he's like, we don't punch cigars here." So,
but that's the thing. It's we learn by what we're told. So some people are like, "Oh, I'm going to punch your V cut," and down there it's straight cut or pick the cap off. So it's all different. It just depends. But going back to the rum, so do you want to know a little bit about that? What's going on with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So Leon Jimenez 10-year age rum. Beautiful, beautiful rum. The nice thing about it is, unlike traditional rum where it's very sugar forward with molasses, this rum drinks to be paired with our cigars. So it drinks almost like a bourbon, and then on the back end has this sweet, subtle rum finish to it. So it's a very smooth, complex rum, and it just balances great with any cigar you're having. Carl
Awesome.
Malone, the partnership there. So Carl and Guillermo formed this strong partnership, strong friendship. Carl owns a distributor in Louisiana. So Carl acts as our importer and he distributes our rum across the U.S. So as we make the cigar for Carl Malone, they import the rum, and we're starting to work in tandem to really grow, both La Aurora and Eleon rum throughout the U.S.
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, I think we had some during that pairing seminar. It was
Mhm.
very good.
It's fantastic. Cost a pretty penny, but it's worth it.
Yes, but it's like a premium. It's a premium. It goes along with what, like I said, La Aurora does. So
Yeah,
it's
and the nice thing is so many people when they hear rum, they're like, no, I don't want to try it. Willie and I have done a lot of tastings this year with cigars, and the biggest thing is getting the concept of traditional rum out of your mind. So as soon as people taste it, they love it, but it's getting it to their lips is the hard part.
yeah. I don't know why more people don't like rum. I know that the cigar industry is more about the bourbons and whiskeys and stuff like that, but I prefer the rums. Like,
Correct.
especially like when I'm the rare occasion when I'm down in Florida going around to different manufacturers. It's like they have like the best rum collections. I remember visiting Espinosa, and Eric Espinosa was like, "You want some rum?" And I was like, "I guess so." And it
It's
was
9 o'clock in the morning, but
right.
yes.
It was like, well, it was like, I guess so. I wasn't driving, so it was like
Uh,
I was fine. But yeah, but like the rum experience to me is I think if people aren't trying that with their cigars, they should really kind of look into it.
And I think you're going to start seeing the resurgence in rum. Looking at all the statistics from that category, rum's the next one to really pop off, and hopefully, you're starting to see a lot of people, barrel aged rum in bourbon barrels and doing a lot of fun processes with it. So I think the evolution of rum's coming, and I think we're in the right position to be at the front of it.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the whole rum thing. So uh, thinking of rum and thinking of everything that you all are working on. By the time this episode airs, it's going to be kind of December, the beginning of December, and we're going to be obviously getting into holiday mode. But we're also, I don't know about you all, but I'm already writing 2024 on stuff because I'm already mentally work-wise working on 2024 stuff. So I'm like, it's getting crazy because I think everyone I've around me that's doing work, they're writing 2024. It's like, no, we're still in 2023.
No, we have TPE and PCA and Q1 next year. We're already working on 2024. Let's be real.
Yeah, like I'm sure you all have like the game plan ready for 2024 because it is going to be a slightly different year with two trade shows happening at the beginning of the year, like you said, within that first quarter, second quarter, if you think of the thing. So, what can you tease? Not giving away anything secret, but what can you tease about 2024?
A lot of fun stuff. No, I think you'll start seeing the blending of the U.S. and Dominican team. Some really fun projects that we're going to do. A lot of limited stuff next year, so just small pops to show people what La Aurora can do that they maybe haven't done in the past. So I think it'll be a fun year. I think there's a lot of things on our plate that Willie and I are excited about, and we're ready for 2024 to come because any sales guy loves ammo in the bag.
You will see more activation events with like Manuel and into more markets that he hasn't normally been into outside of the New York, Miami, Chicago, Texas area. We definitely want to get him into the West Coast, back into the mid, central, and all that. So we will be utilizing the change in calendar that makes it a little more easier to navigate a week here, a week there with his Europe schedule and now the U.S. schedule. So we will see a more aggressive side of us on the road, events and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's part of what I'm looking forward to is seeing how everyone adapts now to having a different schedule. Because I don't know about you, but first of all, I get kind of tired of Vegas, especially in the throes of July. So
you don't like 130 degrees?
stepping outside of the Venetian and just bursting into a ball of flames is
Not
something I
ideal.
won't miss. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But as you said, like it does open up a lot of the summer months now to being able to really kind of play around with marketing and activations and these different events.
I'm excited for as a person that spent a lot of time in New England as I came up as a rep. I'm excited to see markets like that get a fair opportunity at some of these newer products, because now they're coming in during their snow months. It's easier for them to get in. Now they're getting that product. They're seeing that product January, March. They're getting it April, May. They have all summer. They have all of early fall to really push a new product before the bad weather comes in. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see how the developments of these winter months come in with them having that new product and, summertime available, ready to go for their selling period. Or normally they get it in the summer, but they don't get it to the fall, and then here comes the snow, and so I'm excited to see how that redevelopment changes.
At this point of the show, I usually wrap up with two questions. The first of those questions, and both of you can answer this question. Do you have a philosophy that you live by?
Go ahead, Willie.
No, you first. I gotta figure this one out. Hold on.
Philosophy I live by. Don't stop till the job's done.
I guess with as many states and everything that me and John do, I would say go big or go home. Don't play hard, work hard.
Awesome. The last question, I usually ask this to individuals, but since there's two of you, I'm gonna like manipulate this question a little bit and make it a little bit easier. But I want you to finish this sentence. La Aurora is.
That's a good one. La Aurora is, and I quote Vin Diesel, family.
For me, it would be La Aurora is everything. They have provided a life that I could have never imagined to be dreamt living and doing the stuff I'm doing. So to me, it's everything.
Awesome. I think that's a great. I mean, considering we spend hours and hours at work, I think to be able to answer that question like that is great. It says a lot about where you work and the people that you work for. So that's a great answer. For those people who don't know Laura and who want more information, can you give us a spiel about websites or social media stuff that we need to be aware of in order to keep up with everything Laura is doing?
Yeah, you can definitely follow Willy Marante on Instagram. He's the voice of La Aurora USA.
We do have a website, LaAuroraUS.com.
Yeah, so LaAurora.com is our US website. Has store locator on there, has all that. You can purchase product, but it's at MSRP, no discounts. So has a good, it's an educational tool. A lot of our accounts will use it to research product. We'll use it to, pull blurbs out for their website. So it's, again, showcasing that education. LaAurora.com is that. It's a powerful tool to really educate on the brand. And then we also have a strong Instagram handle. What is it? La Aurora Cigars US?
La Aurora Cigars US.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I want you two to sit tight because we're going to record two other things before we completely sign off for today. But I want to thank people for watching this episode and watching all of Deep Cuts all this year. We got 29 great interviews done this year, which is awesome, I think. And it's been a fun year, and we're planning some even funner stuff for 2024. So if you missed any of this episode, I want to catch up on all the other episodes of Deep Cuts, which is like 143 or so episodes that you can catch up on now. So plenty of stuff to keep you occupied during the holiday season. You can do so at deepcutslive.com or youtube.com/deepcutslive. And I want to thank our 2 guests here. And like I said, we're getting ready to record a couple other things. So you'll be able to see a little bit more with our 2 guests on our social media with some fun questions and some bonus content. So thank you all for watching. And if you're not having a great day,